Marcus Johnson walked slowly down Pine Street, his black school shoes making soft sounds on the sidewalk. The morning sun was bright, and he could feel sweat starting to form on his forehead. His dark blue school uniform was clean and pressed, just like his mother always made sure it was before he left the house. In his left hand, he carried a clipboard with papers attached to it. His right hand held a small stack of colorful flyers. The 15-year-old boy had been walking through the Oakwood Heights neighborhood for about 30 minutes now. This was his third week doing this job, and he was getting used to the routine. Every house looked the same to him, big, white, with perfect green lawns and expensive cars in the driveways. The neighborhood was much nicer than where he lived, with his mother across town. Marcus stopped in front of a large house with a red door. He checked his clipboard and found the address on his list. He walked up the stone path to the front door and rang the bell. While he waited, he looked at the beautiful flowers planted around the doorway. His mother would love flowers like these, he thought to himself. No one answered the door, so Marcus took one of his flyers and placed it carefully between the door and the frame. The flyer had bright colors and big letters that said, "Help send students to college. Oakwood High School. Scholarship Fund." At the bottom, it had his school's official logo and his principal's signature. As Marcus walked back down the path, he did not notice the woman watching him from the kitchen window of the house next door. Lisa Martinez had been drinking her morning coffee when she first saw the young man walking down the street. She put down her coffee cup and moved closer to the window to get a better look. Lisa was 42 years old and had lived in Oakwood Heights for 8 years. She loved her neighborhood because it was quiet and safe. She knew most of her neighbors and felt comfortable letting her own children play outside. But now, watching this stranger go from house to house, she started to feel worried. From her window, Lisa watched Marcus walk to the next house. She saw him knock on the door and wait. When no one answered, she watched him put something in the door. Lisa's heart started to beat faster. She had heard stories on the news about people who went door to door to see which houses were empty. Then they would come back later to rob those houses. Marcus moved to the third house on the street. This time, an older woman answered the door. Marcus smiled and started talking to her. He showed her his clipboard and pointed to the flyer. The woman nodded and went inside for a moment. She came back and handed Marcus something. It looked like money or a check. Marcus thanked her and wrote something on his clipboard. Lisa felt more worried now. Why was this young man collecting money from her neighbors? She had never seen him before. He was not from this neighborhood. She was sure of that. All the families in Oakwood Heights were white, and this boy was clearly black. Lisa told herself she was not racist, but she could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. Marcus continued his work, not knowing that someone was watching his every move. He knocked on doors, left flyers when no one answered, and talked to people who came to the door. Some people donated money to his school's scholarship fund. Others just took the flyer and said they would think about it. A few people were not interested at all, but they were still polite to him. Lisa picked up her phone and called her neighbor, Claire Thompson, who lived 3 houses down. "Claire, are you home?" Lisa asked when Claire answered. "Yes, I'm here. What's wrong?" "You sound upset," Claire replied. "There's a young black man going door to door in our neighborhood. I've been watching him for 20 minutes. He's knocking on doors and I saw Mrs. Peterson give him money. I think he might be casing houses or running some kind of scam." Claire walked to her own window and looked outside. She could see Marcus talking to another neighbor across the street. "Are you sure he's doing something wrong?" Claire asked. "Maybe he's selling something legitimate. Claire, you know as well as I do that we don't get door-to-door salespeople in this neighborhood, and he's so young. What kind of business would send a teenager to collect money from strangers? I think we should call the police." "Maybe you should go talk to him first," Claire suggested. "Ask him what he's doing." Lisa felt her stomach tighten at the thought of confronting the young man directly. "I don't feel safe doing that. What if he gets angry or violent? I have my children to think about." "Well, if you really think something is wrong, then maybe you should call the police," Claire said. "But be careful about making assumptions." After Lisa hung up the phone, she continued watching Marcus. He had moved further down the street now, but she could still see him. He walked with confidence, not like someone who was trying to hide what he was doing. He was polite to everyone he met. But Lisa could not get rid of the bad feeling in her stomach. Marcus checked his watch. It was almost 11 o'clock, and he had visited about 20 houses so far. He had collected donations from 8 families, which was pretty good for a Tuesday morning. His goal was to visit 50 houses today, so he still had a lot of work to do. He looked at his clipboard to see which street he should visit next. According to his route, he needed to go to Maple Street, which was just around the corner. Marcus had been doing this fundraising work for his school's scholarship program for 3 weeks now. The money they raised would help students who could not afford college tuition. Marcus knew how important this was because his own family did not have much money. Back at her window, Lisa made a decision. She picked up her phone again and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? The operator asked. Lisa took a deep breath. I want to report a suspicious person in my neighborhood. There's a young black male going door to door, and I think he might be planning to rob houses. He's been collecting money from my neighbors, and I've never seen him before. What is your address, ma'am? The operator asked. Lisa gave her address and described exactly where she had seen Marcus. The operator asked her more questions about what Marcus was doing and what he looked like. Lisa answered all the questions, feeling more convinced that she was doing the right thing. We'll send officers to check on the situation, the operator told her. Lisa hung up the phone and continued watching from her window. Marcus had no idea that police were on their way to find him. Marcus turned the corner onto Maple Street, humming quietly to himself. He had just received a $20 donation from an elderly man who said he believed in helping young people get an education. The donation made Marcus feel good about his work. He knew that every dollar he collected would help someone like him go to college someday. The houses on Maple Street were even bigger than the ones on Pine Street. Marcus looked at his clipboard and found the first address on his list. He walked up to a house painted light yellow with white shutters. Beautiful red roses grew in the front garden. Marcus knocked on the door and waited patiently. A woman in her 30s opened the door. She had blonde hair and was wearing exercise clothes. Good morning, Marcus said with a smile. My name is Marcus Johnson, and I'm a student at Oakwood High School. I'm raising money for our scholarship fund to help students pay for college. Would you be interested in making a donation? The woman looked at Marcus carefully. Do you have some kind of identification? She asked. Yes, ma'am, Marcus replied. He pulled out his student ID card and showed it to her. Then he showed her the official letter from his school that explained the fundraising program. The woman read the letter and looked at his ID. This looks legitimate, she said. Let me get my purse. While Marcus waited, he heard the sound of car doors slamming behind him. He turned around and saw 2 police officers walking toward the house. One was a Hispanic man who looked to be in his 40s. The other was an Asian woman who appeared younger. Both officers had serious expressions on their faces. Marcus felt his heart start to beat faster. He had never been in trouble with the police before, but seeing them walk directly toward him made him nervous. Excuse me, son, the male officer said as he approached. His name tag read, Officer Rodriguez. We need to talk to you for a minute. The woman at the door stepped back slightly. She looked confused about what was happening. Is there a problem, officer? Marcus asked. His voice sounded smaller than he wanted it to. The female officer, whose name tag said Officer Kim, pulled out a small notebook. We received a call about someone going door to door in this neighborhood. Can you tell us what you're doing here? Marcus felt relief wash over him. This was just a misunderstanding that he could easily clear up. Yes, sir. Yes, officers, Marcus said. I'm collecting donations for my school's scholarship fund. I have all the official paperwork right here. Marcus handed his clipboard to Officer Rodriguez. The officer looked at the papers carefully. He could see the school letterhead, the principal's signature, and a list of addresses in the neighborhood. This is Marcus Johnson, the woman at the door said. He just showed me his student ID and this letter from Oakwood High School. Everything looked official to me. Officer Kim wrote something in her notebook. What's your full name and age? She asked Marcus. Marcus Anthony Johnson. I'm Tew, 15 years old, he replied. Where do you live? Officer Rodriguez asked. Marcus gave them his home address, which was in a different part of town. Officer Kim wrote everything down. From across the street, Lisa Martinez came walking quickly toward the group. She had been watching from her window and decided she needed to come outside when she saw the police arrive. Officers, thank you for coming so quickly, Lisa said as she joined the group. I'm the one who called you. Marcus looked at Lisa with confusion. He had never seen this woman before in his life. Ma'am, can you tell us exactly what you observed? Officer Rodriguez asked Lisa. I saw this young man going from house to house for over an hour, Lisa said, pointing at Marcus. He was looking into windows and checking to see if people were home. When people weren't home, he was putting things in their doors. And I saw him collecting money from my neighbors. It just didn't seem right. Marcus felt his face get hot with embarrassment and anger. I wasn't looking into any windows, he said. I was delivering flyers and asking for donations for my school. I have permission to be here. He says he has school paperwork, Officer Kim told Lisa. Lisa crossed her arms. Anyone can fake paperwork these days. And what kind of school sends a teenager to collect money from strangers? That doesn't make sense to me. The woman at the door spoke up again. I've lived in this neighborhood for 5 years and we get fundraisers from the local schools every year. The high school, the middle school, even the elementary school. This is completely normal. More neighbors started to come outside to see what was happening. An older man from the house next door walked over to the group. What's going on here? The older man asked. This young man is fundraising for Oakwood High School, the woman in exercise clothes explained. But this lady called the police because she thought he was doing something suspicious. The older man looked at Marcus and then at the police officers. I've seen plenty of students from Oakwood High doing fundraisers in this neighborhood. My granddaughter graduated from there 2 years ago. Lisa felt frustrated that people were not supporting her concerns. You don't understand, she said to the group. I watched him for a long time. Something just felt wrong about the whole situation. What felt wrong about it? Officer Rodriguez asked. Lisa struggled to find the right words. She did not want to say that it was because Marcus was black and the neighborhood was mostly white. But that was exactly what had made her feel uncomfortable. He doesn't belong in this neighborhood, Lisa finally said. I've never seen him before, and I know all the kids who live around here. Marcus looked directly at Lisa. Ma'am, I don't live in this neighborhood, but that doesn't mean I can't do legitimate business here. I'm trying to raise money to help students go to college. I'm not doing anything wrong. Officer Kim looked at the paperwork again. This all appears to be in order, she said to her partner. The school letterhead looks real, and the list of addresses matches the area where we found him. I still think you should search his backpack, Lisa said. Who knows what he has in there? Marcus felt his anger growing, but he tried to stay calm. You can search my backpack if you want, he told the officers. I have nothing to hide. Officer. Rodriguez looked at Marcus. Son, we don't need to search your belongings unless we have probable cause to believe you've committed a crime. Right now, all the evidence suggests you're doing exactly what you say you're doing. More neighbors had gathered around the scene. Some were taking pictures and videos with their phones. Marcus noticed that some people looked supportive while others seemed to agree with Lisa's suspicions. A woman with gray hair stepped forward from the crowd. I've lived in Oakwood Heights for 20 years, she said loudly. We have always supported our local schools and their fundraisers. This young man is doing honest work, and he should be commended, not harassed. Lisa felt embarrassed, but also more determined to prove her point. Fine, she said, but I want to call the school myself to verify his story. Officer Rodriguez nodded. That's a reasonable request. We can call the school right now. Marcus felt relieved. He knew that once the police called his school, everything would be cleared up. He had nothing to worry about because he was telling the truth. Officer Rodriguez pulled out his cell phone and dialed the number listed on Marcus's school paperwork. The crowd of neighbors stood quietly, waiting to hear what the school would say. Marcus felt confident that this phone call would solve everything. Hello? "This is Officer Rodriguez with the Oakwood Police Department," he said when someone answered. "I'm calling to verify that you have a student named Marcus Johnson who is authorized to do fundraising in the community." Marcus watched the officer's face as he listened to the person on the other end of the phone. Officer Rodriguez asked several questions and wrote notes in his notebook. "Thank you very much," Officer Rodriguez said before hanging up. He turned to the group. "The school confirms that Marcus Johnson is enrolled as a sophomore and is part of their official scholarship fundraising program. His supervisor says he's one of their most reliable volunteers." Marcus felt a wave of relief wash over him. Finally, this whole misunderstanding would be over. But Lisa was not satisfied. "How do we know he's really Marcus Johnson?" she asked. "Maybe he stole that ID card. I think you should ask him more questions." Officer Kim looked at Lisa with confusion. "Ma'am, his identification matches the name the school gave us. What more proof do you need?" "I want to see what's in his backpack," Lisa insisted. "If he's really just fundraising, then he won't mind showing us what he's carrying." Marcus felt his patience starting to run out. "I already said you could look in my backpack. I have nothing to hide." Officer Rodriguez held up his hand. "Son, you don't have to consent to a search. We have no evidence that you've done anything wrong." "But I want to consent," Marcus said firmly. "I want to show everyone that I'm telling the truth." Marcus unzipped his backpack and turned it upside down on the sidewalk. Out fell several items: a water bottle, a peanut butter sandwich wrapped in plastic, extra flyers for the scholarship fund, a calculator, 3 pens, a small notebook, and his school textbooks. The neighbors looked at the contents of Marcus's backpack. There was nothing suspicious at all. "See?" said the gray-haired woman who had spoken up earlier. "Just school supplies and his lunch. This poor boy is being treated like a criminal for doing charity work." Lisa stared at the items on the ground. She had been sure that Marcus was hiding something, but everything looked completely innocent. "Well, maybe he hid the stolen items somewhere else," Lisa said desperately. "Maybe he has an accomplice who already took the things he stole." Several neighbors started to look uncomfortable. A man in a business suit shook his head and walked back toward his house. "Ma'am," Officer Kim said to Lisa, "this young man has provided legitimate identification. His school has confirmed his story and he's cooperating fully with our investigation. We have no evidence of any criminal activity." Marcus started putting his belongings back into his backpack. His hands were shaking slightly, and he felt embarrassed that all these people had seen his personal items scattered on the sidewalk. "This is ridiculous," said a woman with red hair who lived 2 houses down. "The boy is obviously doing exactly what he says he's doing. Why are we treating him like this?" Lisa felt like everyone was turning against her. "You people don't understand," she said, her voice getting louder. "I've lived in this neighborhood for 8 years. I know what belongs here and what doesn't. Something about this whole situation is just wrong." "What exactly is wrong about it?" asked the older man who had joined the group earlier. Lisa struggled to answer. She could not say what she really thought without sounding racist. But the truth was that seeing a young black man in her predominantly white neighborhood had made her uncomfortable, and she had convinced herself that her discomfort meant he was doing something wrong. "He's too young to be collecting money by himself," Lisa said finally. "What kind of school sends a 15-year-old to ask strangers for money? That's not safe." "I'm not by myself," Marcus said quietly. "I have my cell phone and I'm supposed to check in with my supervisor every 2 hours. Plus, I only work during daylight hours in safe neighborhoods." Officer Rodriguez looked at his watch. "Son, how much longer were you planning to work today?" "I wanted to finish this street and then do one more before I went home," Marcus replied. "I need to collect donations from at least 40 houses to meet my goal for the week." "And how long have you been doing this fundraising work?" Officer Kim asked. "This is my 3rd week," Marcus said. "I do it every Tuesday and Thursday after school and sometimes on Saturday mornings." A woman who had been quietly listening spoke up. "I remember you," she said to Marcus. "You came to my house last Thursday. I gave you $10 for the scholarship fund." Marcus smiled at her. "Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for your donation. It really helps." Lisa felt more frustrated than ever. It seemed like everyone was against her, but she still believed she had done the right thing by calling the police. Fine, Lisa said. But I want him to stay away from my house. I don't want him coming to my door or walking on my property. Ma'am, he has every right to walk on public sidewalks and knock on doors for legitimate business, Officer Rodriguez explained. As long as he's not trespassing or harassing anyone, he can continue his fundraising work. This is America, Lisa said angrily. I should have the right to feel safe in my own neighborhood. You do have that right, Officer Kim replied. But this young man also has the right to do legal activities in public spaces. Marcus looked around at all the faces staring at him. Some people looked sympathetic, but others seemed to agree with Lisa that he didn't belong in their neighborhood. He felt tired and hurt by the whole experience. Can I please just finish my work? Marcus asked the officers. I promise I'm not doing anything wrong. Officer Rodriguez nodded. Yes, you can continue, but if we get any more calls about you, we'll have to come back. That's not fair, said the red-haired woman. Why should this boy be treated differently than any other fundraiser? Because some people in this neighborhood apparently think he's dangerous just because of how he looks, said the gray-haired woman bluntly. Lisa's face turned red. That's not true. This has nothing to do with race. I would have called the police on anyone acting suspiciously. Really? Asked the woman in exercise clothes. Because I saw 3 different Girl Scouts selling cookies on this street last month, and I didn't see you calling the police on them. Lisa did not have a good answer for that question. The truth was that she probably would not have been suspicious of white Girl Scouts, even though they were also strangers going door to door asking for money. More neighbors were taking pictures and videos with their phones. Marcus realized that this whole incident might end up on social media or the local news. He felt embarrassed and wished he could just disappear. I want to call my mother, Marcus said to the officers. Can I please call her? Why does he need to call his mother? Lisa asked suspiciously. He's probably just trying to get out of trouble. Ma'am, this young man has not done anything wrong, Officer Kim said firmly. He has the right to call his parent if he wants to. Marcus pulled out his cell phone with shaking hands. He scrolled through his contacts until he found his mother's number. As he pressed the call button, he had no idea that his mother was about to change everything. Marcus pressed his mother's number and waited for her to answer. His hands were still shaking and he felt like crying. He had never been so embarrassed in his entire life. Hello, Marcus, his mother's voice said through the phone. How is your fundraising going today? Mom, Marcus said, his voice breaking slightly. I need you to come pick me up. The police are here and this lady called them on me. She thinks I'm doing something wrong. There was silence on the other end of the phone for a moment. When his mother spoke again, her voice was very calm, but Marcus could tell she was upset. Where are you exactly? She asked. Marcus gave her the address on Maple Street. Mom, I didn't do anything wrong. I have all my paperwork and the school already told the police that I'm supposed to be here. But this lady keeps saying I don't belong in this neighborhood. I'll be there in 15 minutes, his mother said. Stay calm and be polite to everyone. I'm on my way. Marcus hung up the phone and put it back in his pocket. The crowd of neighbors was still standing around and more people had joined them. Some were taking pictures and videos with their phones. My mother is coming to pick me up, Marcus announced to the police officers. Lisa frowned. Why does he need his mother? If he wasn't doing anything wrong, he could just continue with his work. Ma'am, any minor has the right to have a parent present during a police interaction, Officer Rodriguez explained. It's probably a good idea for his mother to come. The red-haired woman shook her head. This whole thing is ridiculous. The poor kid is just trying to raise money for college, scholarships, and you're treating him like a criminal. I'm not treating him like a criminal, Lisa said defensively. I'm just trying to keep our neighborhood safe. Safe from what? Asked the woman in exercise clothes. From a teenager with school fundraising materials? Lisa did not answer. She crossed her arms and looked down the street, waiting to see what kind of person Marcus's mother would turn out to be. Lisa had formed some ideas in her mind about what Marcus's family was probably like. 15 minutes later, a black SUV turned onto Maple Street and drove slowly toward the crowd. The vehicle was clean and expensive looking. It parked at the curb, and the driver's door opened. Out stepped a woman who appeared to be in her early 40s. She was tall and elegant, with short black hair and wearing a navy blue business suit. She carried herself with confidence and authority. Her shoes were expensive, and she wore a pearl necklace and matching earrings. The woman walked directly toward the group of people surrounding her son. Her face was calm, but her eyes were focused and alert. Several of the neighbors recognized her immediately, but Lisa was looking at her phone and did not notice who had arrived. "Excuse me," the woman said in a clear, professional voice. "I'm Catherine Johnson, Marcus's mother. Can someone please explain to me what's happening here?" Officer Rodriguez stepped forward. "Ma'am, we received a call about your son going door to door in this neighborhood. We verified that he's doing legitimate school fundraising work, but the caller wanted us to investigate further." Catherine looked at Marcus, who appeared tired and upset. "Are you okay, honey?" she asked him. "I'm fine, Mom," Marcus replied. "I was just doing my regular fundraising route when the police came. This lady over there called them because she thought I was doing something suspicious." Catherine turned to look at Lisa, who was still focused on her phone and not paying attention to the conversation. "I see," Catherine said calmly. "And what exactly did this lady find suspicious about my son's behavior?" Officer Kim consulted her notebook. The caller reported that she observed a young black male going door to door for an extended period. She was concerned that he might be casing houses for potential break-ins or running some kind of scam. Catherine nodded slowly. "I understand. And you verified that Marcus is doing exactly what he said he was doing?" "Yes, ma'am," Officer Rodriguez replied. "We called the school and they confirmed that your son is part of their official scholarship fundraising program. All of his paperwork is legitimate and he's been very cooperative." A man in the crowd who had been quiet until now suddenly spoke up. "Excuse me, aren't you Mayor Johnson?" Catherine smiled politely. "Yes, I am." Several neighbors gasped and started whispering to each other. Lisa finally looked up from her phone when she heard the commotion. "What's everyone talking about?" Lisa asked. The man pointed to Catherine. "That's Mayor Catherine Johnson. She's been our mayor for 3 years." Lisa looked at Catherine with confusion. She had seen the mayor's picture in the newspaper and on TV, but she had never paid much attention to local politics. Slowly, the realization began to dawn on her. "Wait," Lisa said, her voice getting quieter. "You're the mayor? And this is your son?" "Yes," Catherine replied calmly. "Marcus is my son, and he's been participating in Oakwood High School's scholarship fundraising program for 3 weeks now. This is the same program that has raised over $50,000 for student scholarships in the past 2 years. Lisa felt the blood drain from her face. She had called the police on the mayor's son. She had spent the last hour insisting that he was probably a criminal. She had said that he didn't belong in this neighborhood. I didn't know," Lisa stammered. I didn't realize." Catherine looked at Lisa directly. "What exactly didn't you realize, Ms. Martinez?" "Lisa Martinez," Lisa replied weakly. "Ms. Martinez, what exactly didn't you realize?" Catherine repeated. "That my son might be doing legitimate work? That a black teenager could be raising money for a good cause? Or that the mayor of this town might have a son who participates in community service?" Lisa did not know how to answer. The other neighbors were staring at her and she felt completely humiliated. The gray-haired woman stepped forward. "Mayor Johnson, I want to apologize on behalf of the neighborhood. Most of us recognized that your son was doing nothing wrong." "This lady called the police without even talking to Marcus first." Catherine nodded. "Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. I appreciate your support." Lisa was shocked that the mayor knew her neighbor's name. She was beginning to realize how foolish she had been. "Mayor Johnson," Officer Rodriguez said, "we're sorry this situation got out of hand. Your son handled himself very well under difficult circumstances." "Thank you, officer," Catherine replied. "I'm proud of how Marcus conducted himself today. He remained calm and respectful even when he was being treated unfairly." Catherine put her arm around Marcus's shoulders. "Are you ready to go home, or would you like to finish your fundraising route?" Marcus looked at the crowd of neighbors, many of whom were still taking pictures and videos. "I think I want to go home, Mom." "That's fine," Catherine said. "You've done enough work for today." As Marcus packed up his materials, Catherine addressed the crowd that had gathered. "I want everyone to know that Marcus has been doing this fundraising work in various neighborhoods throughout our city for 3 weeks. He has raised over $800 for student scholarships. He has never had a single complaint until today." Lisa felt smaller and smaller as she listened to the mayor speak. She wanted to disappear, but she knew she had to face the consequences of her actions. Catherine looked directly at Lisa. "Ms. Martinez, I hope this experience has taught all of us something important about making assumptions about people based on their appearance." Lisa nodded miserably, unable to speak. "Come on, Marcus," Catherine said gently. "Let's go home." As they walked toward the SUV, several neighbors approached them to apologize and to offer donations to the scholarship fund. Lisa stood alone on the sidewalk, watching the mayor and her son drive away. The next morning, Lisa Martinez sat at her kitchen table drinking coffee and staring out the same window where she had first seen Marcus. She had barely slept all night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the disappointed faces of her neighbors and remembered the calm, dignified way Mayor Johnson had spoken to her. Lisa's phone had been ringing all morning. Her sister had called to tell her that a video of the incident was already on social media. Her friend from work had seen it on the local news website. The headline read, "Mayor's son questioned by police after neighbor's complaint during school fundraiser." At 8 o'clock, Lisa's doorbell rang. She looked through the window and saw Mayor Johnson standing on her front porch. Lisa's heart started beating fast. She had no idea why the mayor would come to her house. Lisa opened the door slowly. "Mayor Johnson," she said quietly. "I'm surprised to see you here." Catherine smiled politely. "Good morning, Ms. Martinez. I was wondering if we could talk for a few minutes." "Of course," Lisa said, stepping aside to let Catherine into her house. "Please come in. Would you like some coffee?" "That would be nice, thank you," Catherine replied. Lisa led Catherine to her kitchen and poured 2 cups of coffee. They sat down at the small table by the window. "Ms. Martinez, I want to talk to you about what happened yesterday," Catherine began. "But first, I want you to know that I'm not here to attack you or make you feel worse than you already do." Lisa felt tears starting to form in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Mayor Johnson. I made a terrible mistake. I don't know what I was thinking." Catherine nodded. "I can see that you're genuinely sorry. That's why I wanted to come here and talk to you, personally, instead of just letting this become a bigger story in the media." "Is Marcus okay?" Lisa asked. "I feel awful about what I put him through." "Marcus is fine," Catherine said. "He's a strong young man, and unfortunately, this isn't the first time something like this has happened to him, but that doesn't make it acceptable." Lisa looked down at her coffee cup. "I keep trying to understand why I did what I did. I've been thinking about it all night." "What conclusions have you reached?" Catherine asked. Lisa took a deep breath. I think I was scared because Marcus looked different from the other people I usually see in this neighborhood. And instead of just talking to him or giving him the benefit of the doubt, I assumed the worst." Catherine leaned forward slightly. "That's a very honest answer, Ms. Martinez. It takes courage to admit that. But it doesn't excuse what I did," Lisa said. "I called the police on an innocent teenager who was doing charity work. I wasted everyone's time and embarrassed your son in front of the whole neighborhood." "You're right," Catherine said simply. "It doesn't excuse what you did, but the fact that you understand why it was wrong is important." Lisa wiped her eyes with a tissue. "What can I do to make this right? I know I can't take back what happened, but I want to do something." Catherine smiled. "Actually, I have some ideas about that. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about Marcus and why this scholarship fundraising program is so important to him." Lisa nodded, eager to listen. "Marcus and I moved to this city 3 years ago when I was elected mayor," Catherine began. "Before that, we lived in a much smaller town where I worked as a teacher. We didn't have much money, and Marcus had to work part-time jobs to help pay our bills." Lisa was surprised to hear this. She had assumed that being the mayor meant Catherine's family was wealthy. When Marcus started high school here, he learned about the scholarship program. Catherine continued. He decided to participate not just to help other students, but because he knows he'll probably need scholarship money himself to go to college. I had no idea, Lisa said softly. Marcus has been working toward his goal of becoming a doctor since he was 12 years old, Catherine said. He volunteers at the local hospital, he tutors younger students, and he maintains a perfect grade point average. The fundraising work is just one more way he's trying to make a difference in his community. Lisa felt even worse as she listened. To Catherine describe her son's accomplishments. He sounds like an amazing young man. He is, Catherine said proudly. And yesterday, while he was being questioned by police and criticized by neighbors, he never lost his temper or said anything disrespectful. He just kept trying to explain that he was doing honest work. Lisa shook her head. I feel so ashamed of myself. Ms. Martinez, shame isn't going to help anyone, Catherine said gently. What will help is if we can use this experience to make our community better. What do you mean? Lisa asked. Catherine pulled a folder out of her purse. I've been working on a proposal for a community dialogue series about bias and assumptions. Yesterday's incident convinced me that we need this program now more than ever. Catherine opened the folder and showed Lisa several pages of notes and plans. I want to organize monthly meetings where neighbors can come together to discuss difficult topics like racial bias, economic assumptions, and community inclusivity, Catherine explained. The goal would be to help people understand each other better and prevent situations like yesterday from happening again. Lisa read through the proposal. This sounds like a wonderful idea. How can I help? I was hoping you would ask that, Catherine said. I'd like you to be one of the co-organizers of this program. I think your perspective as someone who made assumptions and then learned from them would be valuable. Lisa looked surprised. You want me to help organize it after what I did? Especially because of what you did, Catherine said. You've experienced firsthand how easy it is to make unfair assumptions about people. And you've also experienced how it feels to realize you were wrong. That makes you exactly the right person to help others learn from your mistake. Lisa thought about the proposal for a moment. What would I have to do? Help me plan the meetings. Reach out to neighbors to encourage participation and share your own story when you feel comfortable doing so, Catherine said. Your honesty about what happened yesterday could help other people examine their own biases. Lisa nodded slowly. I think I'd like to do that. It would make me feel like something good came out of this terrible situation. Catherine smiled. There's one more thing I'd like to ask you to do. What's that? I'd like you to make a donation to Marcus's scholarship fundraising efforts, Catherine said. Not because you have to, but because you believe in what he's trying to accomplish. Lisa didn't hesitate. Of course, I'll write a check right now. Lisa went to her desk and wrote out a check for $100. She handed it to Catherine. This is very generous, Catherine said, looking at the amount. It's the least I can do, Lisa replied. Catherine stood up to leave. Ms. Martinez, I want you to know that I forgive you for what happened yesterday. But more importantly, I hope you can forgive yourself and use this experience to become an advocate for fairness and understanding in our community. Thank you, Mayor Johnson, Lisa said. I promise I will. 2 weeks later, Lisa attended the first community dialogue meeting in the basement of the local library. 35 neighbors showed up, including several people who had witnessed the incident with Marcus. When it was her turn to speak, Lisa stood up and told her story honestly. She talked about her assumptions, her fears, and her mistakes. She also talked about what she had learned and how she was trying to do better. After the meeting, several people came up to thank Lisa for her honesty. One woman admitted that she probably would have done the same thing in Lisa's situation. A man said that hearing Lisa's story made him think about his own assumptions about people. Marcus attended the meeting with his mother. When Lisa saw him, she walked over to apologize personally. Marcus, I'm so sorry for what I put you through, she said. You handled that situation with more maturity than I did. Marcus smiled. Thank you for apologizing, Ms. Martinez. And thank you for organizing these meetings. I think they're going to help a lot of people. As Lisa drove home that night, she felt hopeful for the first time since the incident. She couldn't change what had happened, but she could work to make sure it didn't happen to other young people in her community. The next Thursday, Lisa saw Marcus walking down her street again with his clipboard and flyers. This time, instead of watching him suspiciously from her window, she went outside to greet him. "Good afternoon, Marcus," she said with a smile. "How is your fundraising going today?" "Very well, Ms. Martinez," Marcus replied. "I'm almost at my goal for this month." Lisa reached into her purse and pulled out a $20 bill. "I'd like to make another donation to your scholarship fund." "Thank you very much," Marcus said, writing her name on his list. As Marcus continued down the street, Lisa watched him with pride instead of suspicion. She had learned that assumptions could be dangerous, but understanding and compassion could heal even the most painful mistakes.